What's up, Tweener heads? Hope everyone's having a great day. I am very thankful to announce that we have another interview with Coach F.A. of Rice University. He's the head coach of their men's tennis team, Division I program. I had the great opportunity to talk to him about what his program's like, what his background is like from Turkey, playing for the Davis Cup team, and him being a coach for a Division I program, going from being a player to being a coach. We also got to talk about a little bit more personal side of tennis and how he recruits. So, hope you guys enjoy. So, the first thing I wanted to kind of just jump right into it what made your thought process of coaching Rice University? What brought you? Because you were a part of the Turkish Davis Cup team, you coached professional, you coached a team in Turkey, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, it was a club team.
Team. So how'd you end up coming back to Rice and coaching in Division I?
Well, I'm a Rice alum.
Yeah.
So I played here in the mid-90s. And then when I graduated, I went back home to Turkey, and I had a sponsorship from my club, and so I could train a little bit. But career was cut short with a couple of injuries, a little bit of financial crisis at home, etc. So the coaching perspective started. So when So when I started coaching in Turkey, and I coached at sort of the 18 on the national team, but I wanted to coach in college. that was sort of, I had my best years in college. I had a lot of success in college, and I really liked the atmosphere a lot. And so even though I was coaching in Turkey, especially towards my end of my first year of really coaching, I started looking for jobs and what was available. And thankfully, my former coach, Ron Smart at Rice, he got me connected with Tim Siegel at Texas Tech.
Oh, okay.
And so my first job as a coach was at Texas Tech.
Okay. Yeah.
I was an assistant there for 2 years, and that's where my relationship, my current assistant Boyan, started.
Yes.
We recruited him to Texas Tech, and I was able to coach him for 1 year. Okay. Before the Rice job opened up, the assistantship, and then it just made sense. I wanted to come back to Rice, and I had a lot of respect for my coach and the administration at the time, and I made the move.
And you started, what year did you start?
That was 2004.
2004, you started head coach here?
No, as an assistant.
As an assistant?
Yes. I was an assistant at Rice for 8 years.
And then, wow, so then in 2012 you took over for the program head coach.
That's right.
And you see the progression in your record. You went from a below 500 team to now being a conference champion, 2-time coach of the year?
Yes.
Central USA. How did you find your success? Was it just over time, recruiting? What did you find that was key to developing your players?
I think it was a little bit of both. We had great teams at Rice during my assistant years as well. I mean, during my 8 years as an assistant at Rice, we won the conference only once, but we made the NCAA tournament 8 years. So our national ranking was always in the 20s and 30s. Yeah. So we had a lot of good teams. And then towards the end, we just ran into a little bit of bad luck, some injuries, some of those guys not working out as well as you hope.
Always in college tennis.
Right, and then coach retired, and I was very lucky enough. I had to apply for the job. I interviewed, etc., and I was very fortunate to get it. But I knew it was going to be a bit of a restart. And when I actually, in my interview, I said it's gonna take. I presented them with a 5-year plan to begin with, and I told them within 5 years we'd be back inside the top 25. Yeah. And a little bit of a luck, let's face it. I mean, it's not
foolproof.
Right, exactly. And we got there. By the end of our 4th year, we were as high as 26 in the country, won conference, had some wins over top 10 programs. We had a phenomenal record. I think we finished 21-4 or something like that. And unfortunately lost to LSU in the first round of the NCAA's 4-3. But we felt but that was we Boyan and I changed our approach throughout those years as well. First,
Of course.
we wanted to make sure that we had plenty of talent. Then we said, okay, we actually need some competitors.
Yeah.
And then we changed from that to go, okay, we want people that are committed to develop. Because one of the things I find, and it's one of those things you talk about, and you said, he's a really great competitor. And I look at it and I'm going, competing in college is actually one of the easiest things.
Really?
The reason I say that is when you take the course, and we're talking about obviously in the spring season.
Yeah. Not fall, because that's
right.
just preparation.
Right. But in spring season, you're on the court with your 5-6 buddies, 10 obviously with the people when you in the team. You're constantly playing with people. You are most of the time playing in front of your friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, just people constantly supporting you, and you really have to not care to not give your best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those people always not succeed. But if you care about it, even if you don't necessarily care about your development, that you're not going to take it to the next level, you can be a really successful collegiate player because the environment gets a lot of good stuff out of you.
Yeah.
So then, so that's why I say it's not that difficult to compete. You're not all of a sudden, in a ITF grade 4 or a futures in a small town in the middle of nowhere
where no one really cares.
Right, and so that's why you've got all the amenities. Everybody, most collegiate teams, right? You've got all the equipment, all the support staff, all the academic advising, and everything is there for them to just show up and do what they like to do, supposedly, right?
Of course.
So
that's why they're here.
Right, and that's why I always say, competing in college, if you care, it's not the most difficult thing. The difficult part, in my opinion, is that after that, second or third tough weekend in a row, you take that Sunday or Monday off, is to coming up to that Tuesday's practice.
Yeah.
With 3-4 more days before you hit the road again, you play another team, etc. Is that what kind of attitude you have that Tuesday morning where nobody's around?
Yeah.
And then then the focus switched a little bit more from good competitors to people that really wanted to play at the next level.
Yeah.
So we went through these, sort of
transitions.
cycles and transitions to find out what we work with best.
Yeah.
And like I said, we were a top 30 team, 2-time defending champions, and then we had to make some changes again. And last year was not too many coaches 5 years into their coaching careers get to restart something without going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it had to happen to us. And I'm, we're very happy with the group we have, and it's a young team. We only have. Last year we competed with 1 sophomore and 5 freshmen, about 95% of the year. And so this year it's 1 junior, and the rest are freshmen and sophomores as well. So it's still a young team, but I do feel it's a team that's on the right track that can do some surprisingly good things this year. They could surprisingly, make us pull our hair off. But again, this that it's okay.
So I really relate to that because I just started being an assistant coach for a Division I team in Connecticut, Quinnipiac.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask you, kind of coach to coach, how do you? Because there's about 4 freshmen on our team.
Yeah.
How do you kind of relate to them in a way that makes them overcome either that immaturity, that ego that they were the best in high school? How do you help them through that process once they come to college?
Right.
How do you handle that?
I think the most important part of it is patience from yourself, because they are not going to be patient. Nobody in this generation is patient, so they want immediate results, and it's not going to come. I mean, unless they're a superstar, everybody comes. No matter how much you tell them in the recruiting, season, and saying that, look, there will be an adaptation period.
Yeah.
The schedule is tough. People you play against are going to be tough, and they don't always feel it, And as they are, sometimes getting their butt kicked, they're oh my God, this is so much more work than I'm ever used to. That you've got to be patient for all of that to wear, so that they are now, and honestly, sometimes it's a semester, most it's a year before they realize what it takes, to prepare academically, what it takes for them to realize how much sleep they can actually get and they need, etc., and how much more do collegiate coaches demand as opposed to their local coaches or their high school coaches, because most of it is they're the bosses, right?
Yeah.
They're paying you
exactly,
and that sort of thing. So, and here the balance shifts a little bit, and you've got to give them a little bit of a time leeway, and also nobody figures out, I think, during that recruiting period what works for someone. What turns that player on, what makes them go off, that sort of thing. So you're also spending those first months figure out how to get them to do things that you want without, making sure they're still getting the best out of them, and that sort of thing. So it's I don't think there's really ever a better coach than time in that sense. And and again, we all feel like we don't have it, right? Because we want to win tomorrow, and most of the time our jobs are based on the wins and losses, etc.
And you can't be on the court with them; you can watch from the sideline.
Yeah, you can't swing the racket for them. That's absolutely right. And nor are you with them 24/7 to regulate
what they do.
Yeah. So
to overcoach them.
Right. And so are they getting enough sleep? Are they making the right decisions? Are they eating well? And you try to coach them as best as you can, give them the right tools, but it has to. At one point, it has to click in their minds.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I was doing, clearly not working, or something that what I'm doing is right. I'm taking care of myself, etc., etc. I just need to get used to the system.
Yeah.
And so, last year with 5 freshmen, a couple of walk-ons, etc. We had our number 1 player who's going to compete today, Sumit. Actually, you played 2 most of last year. But he's had a phenomenal spring, summertime. But anyway, so he came in having qualified and made 3rd round of Orangeburg in singles and semifinal in doubles.
Fantastic.
Comes into, came in January and playing phenomenal tennis. No one is really getting a set off of him at practice and things like that. And we're like, okay, so if you're starting 1. Okay. First match, he's played against UT Rio Grande Valley. Okay. And but he's playing a senior. So Sumit drops the first set, 6-3 second, 5-3 in the third. Yeah. Probably for most of his experiences, in the junior level, etc., more of those guys maybe go away. Yeah. But you had a senior playing a quote-unquote hot-shot freshman. Yeah. He just hung in there. And Sumit ended up losing. And probably from a talent perspective to somebody that he was better. Yeah. But maturity, experience, and that maybe a little bit more grit of being in the trenches for a long time, and just gave and took the match from Sumit. So there is such a thing as the that freshman year or that semester where you're gonna struggle unless you're coming in as an absolute stud.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's gonna go through a time of adjustment and adaptation. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You're looking at all these freshmen coming in. Again, not all, but majority
of them.
You know, over 13 UTRs, et cetera, before the whole fall is down, they're mid-12s. You know what I mean? So it happens.
Because everything changes like
Everything changes. You know, it's not that they're becoming worse tennis players.
It's just they're playing better competition.
They're playing better competition. They're having to probably study more than they're used to. They're training. Maybe, you know, if
Different.
they were homeschooled and on the court 6 hours a day, but now they're actually being asked to train with higher intensity as a lesser time and that sort of thing. And coaches may have different approaches to things and trying to make and probably they're making them more uncomfortable in scenarios. So
because it's all unfamiliar territory that they have to deal with.
Exactly. So that was a very long answer to a question as far as how to get the freshen. You know, like I said,
that's okay.
It's a matter of being patient. It's a matter of figuring out what works for them. And at the end of the day, if the kid is a hardworking kid, if he cares, he will turn around.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure that
Just have to
you're
wait
not
for it.
stuck with somebody who's going through the motions and who's there because
You can.
his parents like him to be there or it's cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's like, when it comes to athletes like that, a lot of them take advantage of that, and a lot of people don't understand that there's more to it than just being an athlete. I've always grown up my dad telling me you have to be a student first, then an athlete.
Right.
And I think a lot of people still don't understand that concept.
Right. Yeah, and you know that, and also you know I've always found it where some of our best athletes have always been the ones that have taken care of their schooling very well as well. We had a lot of great All-Americans, you know, national champions, etc.
Finding the balance.
That you know graduated with honors from here or graduated, you know, just finished their Stanford MBAs and hold some great positions in companies, and this is just in the last 10-15 years.
Yeah.
So it's, you don't have to sacrifice one or the other, and at the same time, if you are a competitive tennis player, it's very, I think, difficult for me to believe that you're gonna tank everything else away. You know, if you're a true competitor, everything you should be competitive in everything you do. It could be that simple ping pong game that you play with your dorm here to how you do in class.
I think a lot of people think it's easy. It's not that hard to fail, but when you really don't apply yourself, it takes a while to kind of see everything collapse.
You can cruise. You can find a way to cruise. And okay, some schools may be better than others.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, you don't want to have that regret. I wish I had done a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, now that my career is over, that internship is... I could have gotten that if I had applied myself a little bit better in that class.
Exactly.
Et cetera, you know?
Exactly. And transitioning into my next question,
Yeah.
you touched about it a little bit, the recruiting process.
Right.
With your international background, do you think it's easier for you to recruit kids overseas to come to a place like Rice University? Or do you think it's easier with your experience to have kids not go pro but to play college tennis first?
I still think college is the right choice for most.
Okay.
You know, it's being proven, you know, over and over, and you know, obviously, it's been now the topic of conversation for a handful of years. How the ATP's age success range is getting later and later.
Yeah.
I mean, you no longer have 18, 19-year-old national, you know, Grand Slam champions, et cetera, et cetera.
Unless you're a WTA is a whole nother.
It's a different,
It's a whole different story.
Conversation,
but,
yeah. And so, for most, I mean, you know, you've got a guy like Alex Geller, #1 in the world, choosing to go to college at Stanford. You know, after winning, I think it's 2 Grand Slams, making final and other, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, truly one of the best juniors in the world went that route. And so a lot more people are making those decisions, and I think it's the right one because, again, yes, some schools will challenge you more in the classroom, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm looking around, and there are more, if really professional tennis is that absolute desire, and at the same time you have that ability to excel, you have more universities are taking players to futures, challengers, and things like that. If you don't have that kind of a support from a federation back at home or a really wealthy family, what is your alternative? You're
kind of left out to dry if you don't have that.
Exactly,
I say
and you
capital.
so you become a lifer on the futures qualifying tour, and you just to qualify here and there a week, and so it's just not gonna. It's not gonna get the job done. Now, as far as going international, going domestic, etc., we've never really had a preference instead of let's stick to one school of thought or what this works really well for us. I feel like we've had success from some countries more than the others, and some of that has to do with the academics as well.
Gotcha.
We've had very little, very small number of international athletes from South America, and I think some of that has to do with the requirements of Rice University and high TOEFL and SAT, etc.
Of course,
it makes it a little more difficult. We've had more success with Brits, or Northern Europeans. A lot of Germans had success here. We have a Norwegian kid who's got a 4.0, etc., etc.
So kind of sticking to the same formula, but not condensing it to one perspective.
We still look everywhere. Obviously, we have a 50-50 split, and our, actually a couple of years ago when we were, 26 in the country at one point and winning those ton of matches, we had 4 kids starting from Texas.
Fantastic.
So, well,
that's good because I think a lot of people don't think a top 30 school will have all Americans playing in their lineup.
And again, it's not we're not trying to make a point of going all American or all international. Whatever works. You again, we talked a lot about what kind of kids that we've recruited and the attitude and stuff like that. And if we find the right fit from Connecticut, by all means. If we find the right fit from Romania, by all means. It's just got to fit the system. This is an international university. It's got a lot of recognition across the globe. So we're not really having to sell the academic reputation of Rice. It's out there already. So people are recognizing it. People are excited about it, and but you have to. It's at the same time. It's not a. It doesn't have the Stanford, name or tennis necessarily resume. So you need people to answer the phone, come on a visit to experience it, to see it and everything we got. And then we rarely have somebody visit and not be impressed by everything we have to offer. I think we've got a phenomenal administration. We've got a phenomenal support staff. Our academic advising is, I think, second to none. So once they get here and see everything we have to offer them, obviously our facility, and obviously hosting the Oracle Challenger now, and it's taken a whole new look to it. But
it's even better.
But it is one of the best, I think, outdoor facilities in the country.
It is. So I'm very impressed with it.
So. We are doing a lot of good things, and we have to still recruit a certain level of academic individuals. And they have to understand that yes, they are sometimes getting a break of being to be a recruited athlete, and maybe some of their requirements are a little bit less than the regular student here at Rice. But still. Getting in is difficult, but they've got to put some work in, and they've got to be willing to do it. They're not going to be able to just.
It's not that simple.
Right.
In a broader sense, for college tennis, is there anything that you personally have seen that you would rather change? Is there a format that you would rather see, or is there anything you would rather do something about? Not for your program specifically, but just overall?
I think we're doing a lot of things in the right way. To me, the biggest topic is always going to be how we handle these sort of pro tennis within college tennis. There will always be haves and have-nots, and I get that. And the problem is we are, I think, sometimes promising these young men, probably women too, almost too much. And
How so?
In the sense that, we're throwing, all kinds of, and I don't mean just we as in Rice, but I think in general, we've got to take this tournament, that challenge, or this future, and we're using a lot of our, valuable budgets to non-university stuff, and I don't.
Interesting.
And I hope it doesn't happen. And again, it does elevate. So it's one of those sort of, in my opinion, double-edged sword things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it does elevate the reputation of college tennis globally.
Yeah, because you can promote the brand of Rice University and other schools.
And also say, like also, yes, the John Isners and Kevin Andersons and that's at the top.
Yeah.
But it's when you are looking at a draw here at 150,000 and there are so many former collegiate players, and you're looking at, I feel like every other week a challenger or a future is being won by a collegiate player, a former collegiate player. So it does improve our global brand as the ITA, etc.
Of course.
At the same time, I don't know if at one point somebody in an administration would say, why are we spending all this money?
Okay.
And how is it returning to us as
Like, what are you getting back?
X, Y, and Z, So
I'm sorry for interrupting,
No,
but
no.
I've a question that I kind of always thought about this is, so the money they make from these tournaments,
Right.
where does it go?
you mean the players?
Yeah.
So
Do they keep it?
I think.
Or just would that go back to the university?
So here's what, again, we're not talking about a whole lot of money. I mean, especially at the futures level, you're looking at a couple $100. Like, for example, when we host our $25,000 futures, and we had a university or two that brings their players to play, and they won an X amount of dollars, they actually left that money for the tournament.
Oh, okay.
I've
always been curious about
and the
that.
NCAA rules have changed dramatically over the last 5 years with the prize money situation. So it's no longer you have to show expenses for that week.
Yeah.
However much money you make, now you have to show expenses for the calendar year, how you spend that. So if a player here makes $1,000 this week,
Yeah.
they don't have to show expenses how they spent that $1,000 this week. They need to show expenses how they spent that $1,000 over a 12-month period.
Okay.
So
overall for the year, not just for the tournament.
exactly. So if they're in a 12-month period, if they made $5,000, they probably spent 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of
course.
And so
Especially at that level.
right. So and when it comes to university, I think some universities would like that check to be made out to University
school.
of Texas or Rice University, etc. And it's like that,
Or go back
check.
to the program in some sense.
That's what I mean. You can get that check and put it back into your program. Okay, that's a fair trade too.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the expense you put in does not cover, or the money you make does not cover the expense you put in.
Of course, because I always felt like that for the NCAA, you're not allowed to receive any money in sponsorship. You're allowed free gear from your university, but you're not allowed outside endorsements of any kind. So that money that they win is not necessarily going back towards them.
Right.
They're usually donating it somewhere else.
Right.
In this case.
Well, like I said, it's either they can leave the program or they take it and put the money back into the budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, I mean, again, like I said, I mean, as far as, formats and this and that, I think I think we made the right calls a few years ago by going the way we did. And obviously even ATP with the next gen and stuff like that, trying some shorter formats and things like that. So, and not everything has to be pro. I mean, there are differences between every sport, and there are pro versions of it in college. So it's okay if pro tennis is
different,
longer, or if pro tennis has, or college tennis has a different format. It's okay, because since we went to that format, no one changed their training. No one is training less or conditioning less, etc.
Nothing else has changed.
Right, and you still have all of those collegiate guys winning pro events.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's just
it was I think a good conversation back in the day, but I'm glad we went that route. But moving from that, I think like I said, I mean, I like the direction of ITA, and I'm very happy to be coaching in college tennis, and sure, I mean, I think we can always improve a thing or two here, but I don't really see a major change that needs to happen within college tennis.
Okay. Very nice. And now I want to get into kind of more fun questions for people. So my first question would be, if you were stuck in an airport for 12 hours, who would you like to be sitting next to, and why?
I always, some of the old timers, and I mean old timers in terms of like tennis is great, because I just want to hear stories. Yeah. And it could be anybody, like a Johnny Mac, obviously very colorful person, and or one of my former players. Even and dad, Slobodan Zivojinovic, Bobo. Yeah. So his son played for us, Philip. Yeah. And I just want to hear the stories from back in the day, how they traveled, how those tournaments were like. What was the rivalries like, and just want to hear more tennis stories.
Wow. Like, who do you think would have the best story?
Again, I think you'll get good stories from some of the bad boys, like a Connors or
Ilya
Nastasi for sure, and obviously Johnny Mac. But you could also have some probably fun conversations with some of the quieter ones too, like Ed Berg, and how people
would have some
viewed
stories.
him.
Yeah,
of course, and
but he's just so quiet.
Right, exactly, and I mean, I think because. We know so much more of the current guys because of social media, because of their openness and everything like that.
What they've been talking about.
Right, and but I would have liked to know how Nastasi trained, back in the day, and we
did he smoke? I thought he did.
I think I think better. Quite a bit of
the days where Marlboro would be a sponsor of a tennis tournament.
Right, Virginia Slim.
Yeah, exactly.
And or like Jan Triak, sit down and hear his stories about everything from the how he built his empire, and that started as a tennis coach, sort of thing. So,
who would be, if you were to pick one pro player on tour to be your doubles partner, who would it be and why?
Doubles partner, you got to go with a doubles player. You got to take one of the Bryans, I would say. I mean, it's
no brainer.
Because I just want to, you watch him, you watch some of the top guys, singles guys play doubles, and then you're watching some of the double specialists play doubles. It's different.
It's so different.
They cover the court better. They know where to hit the ball. It's just.
Their court awareness is insane.
Exactly. So I think I would definitely. I mean, obviously, Sock is now becoming a phenomenal doubles player.
I personally think he should just stick to doubles because of his game. Personally, plus he just dropped out of the top 100 for the first time in 4 years. So.
Right. And so, but yes, they're aging a little bit. But one of the Bryans, I think I would like to enjoy that intensity and
that fire.
Exactly.
Would you do the chest bump with them or no?
If we take down one of the, if it's for a Grand Slam final, why not? Do all kinds of bumps.
Are you a Roger or Rafa fan?
I'm a Roger fan.
Thank you. Do you think Rafa will ever catch him or no?
At one point, I thought it was going to be all Djokovic.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was. I thought, before he ran into that funk, and I thought, because he had won 6 out of 8 that a couple of years stand, and that
And
sort
like
of
that
thing.
2011
Right.
run. Yeah, I remember
And
that.
and obviously, it seems like he is back.
Yeah.
So right now, I would say. So what are the numbers now? It's
20, 16, and 14.
Right.
Novak could catch
I
him.
think Novak has a better shot than I think Rafa.
Rafa's just had surgery on his ankle, and
Rafa's always dealt with more injuries than either of those guys.
it still shocks me how he came back from almost an MCL tear with no surgery, only medication.
Sure.
That's a little sketchy to me.
I mean, there's always rumors out there, but until anything is proven.
Exactly. So, Efe, I really appreciate you
Thank
talking
you.
to me.
Thanks for
Thank
taking
you so
the time.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you again. I hope we can stay in touch.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Anytime, man. You got my number.